This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Allen. Remember in the early days of COVID when China was locking down, many of us watched with curiosity, but perhaps not as much grave concern. China is a communist country, so could we really trust the media reports emerging from there? When Italy, however, started reporting increasing deaths due to COVID, many of us, especially those of us living in the West, started to become very concerned. But what were the real numbers of excess deaths in Italy? Did COVID ravage the country, or is this a case of the media and the politicians getting it wrong? Well, joining me now is John Carpay, president of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms and author of this story, COVID-19 in Italy: What Actually Happened. John, thank you so much for joining me today. This is a fascinating topic, and I remember exactly where I was because I was about to have my fifth child. I was about to deliver, and then Italy was locking down. I'm like, what's happening here? What's happening here? So maybe you could take us back to your time and when we were examining what was happening around the world at the very early days of COVID. It seems so long ago. But how did Italy get into the mix?
Well, Italy has an aging population. They've had a low birth rate for a very long time. And so uh, every year, the death rate in Italy, so the number of deaths per thousand, is slowly increasing, from 9 deaths per 1,000 people per year to 10 deaths to 11 deaths. And there's a slow increase. And every year in Italy, there are large numbers of elderly people that die, which is the norm all across the world. Certainly in first world countries, it's the elderly that are the largest group of people that are dying. In third world countries, you might see a lot of children die. That's a different situation. But what the media did was they showed lots of photos and video clips of sick people, dying people, dead people, body bags, coffins. And so when you've got a journalist or reporter who's talking about this scary virus that is
Hmm.
just so much worse than your average annual flu, combined with photographs of sick and dying people, and then you get that pumped out uh, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months on end, it just generates a lot of fear in people. And of course, photos of dead people don't tell you anything about actual death rates. And the death rates in Italy in 2020 were totally in line with 2019, 2021. There isn't like a blip or a bump in the death rates in Italy in 2020 for anybody that cares to look at the data.
So why was Italy a focal point in those early days of COVID? I mean, we understood China's relationship with the virus because of the Wuhan virology lab or the virology institute. But all of a sudden now we're Italy, like not Germany, not Brazil, not Canada, but Italy. How did they get into the mix?
Well, perhaps the virus, the COVID virus, came to Italy more strongly earlier on, right? Maybe Italy got exposed to COVID prior to Germany, Portugal, France, Greece, other countries. That's a guess. I don't know why it was Italy necessarily, but my best guess would be that COVID came there first before COVID really penetrated other European countries.
Actually, I
And then,
remember reading now, sorry, I just jogged my memory. I remember reading a news article that explained that just north of Florence, there's a large leather factories in Prato, Italy, and they still want to have many products made in Italy with that stamp. So, for what better or for worse, a lot of foreign migrant workers are airplaned in to work in these factories. And I think Chinese New Year had just happened. So a lot of the Chinese workers had just returned from their vacation in China, and then COVID was brought more robustly to Italy, if you will.
that would make a lot of sense because obviously you've got Chinese people flying all over the world to every country. But if there's one country where you have larger numbers of, I guess, COVID carriers coming in, that country would be the first to be heavily hit. And the the sad thing was that it's so unnecessary to have all that fear, but we are By nature, we are visual creatures, we are emotional creatures. If I showed you video footage of the seal hunt and some baby seal getting clubbed over the head and blood on the ice, that would probably make a stronger impression on you than anything I might say with words about the seal hunt, right? So
Absolutely.
we
We're
are
gonna we're gonna pick this up in just a moment.